Hello everyone, welcome back. So in our webdriverIO series, today we are going to discuss about the reporting feature. Now so far we have seen the spec reporter, right? So while we were creating our the webdriverIO project, we have selected the spec as our reporter. But this spec is more into like your console reporter, like once you run your test case, you see whatever it is appearing on your command prompt or the console, that is nothing but this reporter. But sometimes let's say that when you are executing like 100 or 200 test cases into your Jenkins pipeline or ADO pipeline, at that moment you kind of need a simple HTML report, let's say that, where it would list all the test cases that you have executed, and then probably like let's say that 20 of that got failed, then you need to see the error or the exception that has been thrown and why that test case got failed, so that you can quickly look back into those report or the test cases, and you can understand what is the problem with that with those test cases. So that is the benefit of having a HTML report. Okay, the console report is always good when you are debugging your test case or locally running couple of test cases. Okay, so now there are a lot of different HTML reports are available with respect to the webdriverIO, but then today we are going to see the Allure reporting, which is very much familiar with any other testing tools that you have used, let's say Selenium, Protractor, then you would have heard about the Allure report, right? So the same thing, there is a integration with webdriverIO is also possible. Okay, so we want to see how exactly the webdriverIO integrates with the Allure reporting. So for this, let me go back into the documentation. So if you see that this is the documentation from the webdriverIO itself, I really liked the way they have documented this one. So let's quickly go and follow the steps that they have mentioned, and then we'll see how it is easy to configure with your existing framework. So the first thing is that you need to use the dependency, the Allure reporter dependency. After that, you have to add the configuration into the wdio-conf.ts. Okay, after that they have provided couple of reporting options. These are called as reporting options, and then there is something called a couple of the reporting logs actually, where you can attach to your actual HTML report. And then couple of steps that to create the HTML report, like if you go into this, there is a command line utility tool is there. By using that, you can create the HTML report from there. Okay, and then at the end we will see how you can automatically generate the report and how you will fit this one with your existing framework actually. So all these things we will see, and couple of issues that I have faced while I was integrating this, even I will be discussing those things one by one. Okay, so fine. Now the first thing is that we need to install this particular dependency. Okay, so if you see that, so this is basically the dependency that I'm going to have it. So what I'm going to do now, if you see that I don't have that dependency, how do I install it? Let's open the command prompt, clear the existing output, and then I will just say this one. Now why save dev? Because this is the dev dependency, I want to install it here. So let's wait for some time. Okay, and you can see that the Allure reporter, the dependency got installed into this particular dev dependency. So we should be good with the first part. Now the second part is that we need to add this configuration. Now let's quickly copy this one and add it to our reporters module, reporters section actually. Now where is the reporters section? Now if you get into this is my reporter section, right? Now inside this actually I need to assign the reporter. Now what I'm going to do, so this is basically the array, you consider this. Okay, do not add after this. Okay, if you're adding after this, then it would be a problem, but if you want to delete this completely and have it as exactly it is given, then you should be good. But I want to keep this one also, so that I can see the console reporter as well. Now what I'm going to do, inside this I need to put a comma and I need to enter this. Now this way I can have multiple reporters present in my framework. Okay, so that is one thing. Now if you see that they have given couple of things. Now Allure is the name of that reporting, so that it can take all the data from my framework to the HTML. That's the first thing. Now what are these things actually? So if you see that this is output directory, right? Now this is Allure -results. What this says that when it generates the report, actually the report is basically for the first time when you really implement this Allure, right? It creates the XML and JSON files for the first time. Actually it will take all the information and it will put there. Now those JSON and the XML files should be under this. Now it will check whether there is a folder created or the directory is present or not. If it is not there, then it will be creating this particular directory actually into your project folder actually. So that is the first thing that it does. Now the second thing is that there are two different options. As I told, these are the options. If I go to this documentation, they've given couple of options here. You can use any one of this. These two things which they've given, which I will be discussing. One is the disable WebDriver step reporting. So it is basically the in and out of entire execution. Like for an instance, I'm clicking on something, I'm opening a link, I'm checking something. So this does couple of API calls, right? Internally the webdriverIO. Now all these things will be captured when I'm saying this as disable WebDriver steps reporting as false. Actually if I'm making this false, it means that disable false, it means that I'm enabling those logs actually there. So I will be keeping at this moment as false. I will showcase you that. The same thing, there is actually this disable WebDriverIO screenshot reporting. Now couple of times you want to take this screenshot, right? Now at this moment it is disable equal to true. Now let me make it as false. It means that if I want to take any screenshot and attach, it should be visible into the Allure report. Fine. So we understood all these things, and couple of other things are also there. Like one of the thing that I really liked is that add console logs. Like whatever after running you get the console logs, right? If you want to attach that to your reporting, you can do that. The only reason that I always restrict to have more options into the report, because we want to keep that report so clean actually. So the main idea of that report has to be, it should list out all the test cases that we are automating or we are running, and then it should showcase the errors or the exceptions if it fails, and if it fails then it should throw the, or it should attach the screenshot. As simple as that. You can attach logs. Some people write different things. They can attach different logs like, okay, this step has been executed, this is my first step, second step. I would suggest not to do that, because in reality the QA persons don't have that much of time to really look into that. They have lot of different other aspects. They might be enhancing their existing test cases, they might be doing some functional testing, they might have doing some other documentation. So I mean, in most of the times they might not have all this time to really see all the features that we have added into the framework. So make it very simple and then get the work done, and you are done with that. So that is what I'm going to do here actually. But if not, you can just attach all these options, true, false, all these things. You can put it inside this reporter option and you can give it a try. Okay, fine. Now I think pretty much this one actually. Now let me just take this much things and try to see that how I can generate a report actually there. Okay, now I'm going to my actual test case, and you would have seen that this test case is auto created. I just did couple of changes while we were learning the debug, right? I'm taking that as an example, and I will be adding couple of more test cases actually here, just to make sure that I can see the report, some passes, some fails or something. Now the first one is a valid credential, right? Now this one I'm taking the invalid username. Okay, so here I'll just remove this one, invalid username, right? Now if you see that this should be 123, I'm just taking something, and I expect that though I am having a invalid username, it should log in successfully. I'm taking that as a consideration. Now the second thing is that with invalid credentials, means both of these things are invalid. Actually, I'm taking this. Now in this case, I should expect a different one actually. So let me show you the application that it is taking. So it is the internet, the Reco app, right? Now here I will be taking /login, and if you see here some invalid login, and it gives this particular error actually here. Now I'm just copy pasting this one, and I will take into this actually here. So I'm expecting that. Now because I've changed the username and password, it should give your username is invalid. Okay, or maybe like I'll do one thing, I'll take the valid email but then invalid password. Now here it should show, oops, sorry, it should show your password is invalid. That's it. Now I'm keeping like this. Fine. Now 3 test cases are there. I've changed the descriptions and then changed accordingly. Now let's quickly run this one actually. I will again do a clear and then let's run this. Now how do I run it? Npm run wdIO. Now at this moment I just did 2 things. One is I have added the Allure reporter, this particular dependency, and then I have changed the wdIO configuration with these details. Now I'm running this test case. Okay, now as you can see that all the 3 test cases ran with different combinations that we have given. And let me show you this spec reporter. I was telling, right, this spec reporter is used for your console reporting. And you can see it also given a nice reporting here that the first test case got passed, second one got failed. Now the third one is again passed, and 2 test cases got passed, failed. Now the test case that got failed, this is the exception. Very simple actually. Now but the problem with this kind of console reporting is that this is only 3 test cases, right? Now think about, you have 300 test cases. It is very difficult to understand the failures. That is the only reason we have to learn about to generate the HTML report, so that you can attach to your ADO pipelines or the Jenkins pipeline, so the QA can go back to that HTML and identify the issues. Fine. Now if you see that there is a new folder got created here, the Allure results, and this is coming from the output directory that I have created here. I can give any name, and this is basically the folder name. Even I can say that report hyphen or the /Allure report, like that also I can do that. Fine. Now where is the report actually? HTML, it is not yet created. Now you see that all these things are the JSON files, and there has to be one XML is there, and if you see the content of the XML, it will look very familiar. You see that it just takes all the calls that we have individually, and it is just capturing all those logs, the network logs, the UI, and then the name of those test cases, anything that is required to capture into your HTML report. But then how do we create from this XML to HTML? Now that's where actually there is a command line utility is coming into the picture. Now if you see that, if I scroll down a bit, and you see that now this is the Allure command line tool actually. Now this is where I have to install. Now I'll take this particular utility. This is Allure hyphen command line. I is for install. Now you can even globally install that. So when I do this one, right, so it will install as a dependency into my package.json here. Okay, but then if I say that npm install, and I will say that -g, then this will install as my globally actually, this will install. So let me keep it as a global. Okay, okay, I think it's not allowing. So what I'm going to do in that case, I will make it as a sudo. Okay, so sudo means it will take the administrator privilege actually. Okay, so now I have to give my password of my system, and then once it is identified, and you can see that it installed. How do I know that? Now if I just keep like this, and it should give me some output actually here, doesn't matter what it is. If it is not installed, it will say that this command not found. Okay, but you can even install locally also, there is no problem with that. Okay, now we have installed the Allure command, and now we have to execute this particular command. Now I'll just copy paste as it is only. Okay, but here a couple of things that I need to change. Now one thing is that it asks the output directory where exactly the report got generated. Now that is nothing but Allure results, right? And this is nothing but this Allure result. So I'm taking that. Now what it is telling, Allure generate, Allure results, this is where all the data is present. Then take that. Now this will convert. Generate means generate the HTML, and open that as well. Okay, so I'll just do like this, and then open means what? The HTML file. Now let's do that and see if it works. And you can see that it generated the report, and if you see that there is a new Allure report, one folder or the directory got created, and this is where the index.html which opened here actually automatically. And now if you see that all the data, those are present. I mean, it has to take all the CSS, JavaScript, and some like screenshots and everything, right? That stays here actually. So like this you can do that. So whenever you are taking, and you can see like there is a index.html with a local host, it is coming, and you can see that it is kind of a Allure local server, it is taking itself. Okay, now let's understand this report a bit here. Okay, so now if you see that total number of test cases got passed to, one got failed, which we have seen into the console also, right? Now if you see that my login application, this is the shoot name, from where it is coming. Let's compare one by one. Okay, so now let me go to the test case, and you see that this is my shoot name actually. Now let's say that you have number of TS files are there, number of describe blocks are there. So each describe block's description is treated as a shoot name. Okay, now that is what it is coming. Now if you click on that, it gets all the 3 test cases, and these are the it block statements. You see that valid credential, invalid username, and then valid credential. Now if you click on that, now here is where actually the magic happens. All the logs that we have created, right, that got captured here. Even it is giving what is the duration of this particular test case, what is the browser that it is using. Now all this information it is taking from your config file. You need not to do that, and these logs are basically coming because you have made it as false. Now if you make this disable as true, then this details will not be coming, and these are nothing but each API call that it is doing actually. Now you can see there is a request went, from where it is coming. So this is coming from your test case open. Okay, now this open is what actually this request it is sending a URL with the actual URL that is taking. Now there is an element that got we are doing identifying the username, from where it is coming. If you see that inside the login, we have identified this username, right? Now these things are coming, everything it is capturing here step by step. The only reason that I suggest that to make it as true always, because we don't want to make it as false. If you don't disable this one, now think about, you have 200 test cases, all these logs, and your file size will be increasing, and the server where you are executing your test cases, right, then it will be loaded with a lot of memory will be utilized there. And as I told, your only job is to just make sure that these test cases are passed or failed. If passed, you really don't want to see anything, because you know, right, what exactly this test case is doing. But when it got failed, then that's where you want to see that what is that error it is throwing, why exactly my test case got failed. Now you see that it is expecting that you logged into a secured area. That is what as a QA I am expecting. But then the error that it is coming, or the expected result, or the actual result is coming as your username is invalid. Now that's where you need to identify which step this got failed and what is the issue, and then you can go inside and dig down there actually. Okay, that is what you can do. Now this final test case or the third test case got passed, and from where this Chrome version everything is coming from your capabilities. You give all the capabilities right here actually, all these details are coming there. Fine, now let's see some more things here. And now here you can see the suite details and then categories, product defects. Now what it does, this category, if any test cases are getting failed, it just captures here. Now you can go back to, now it just filters out all the failures actually. Now if you go here to this, it gives all the test cases, but if you go to this product defect, you get only one test case, and that is failed. Now let's say out of 200 of your test cases, 20 got failed. Now you should see only those 20 failures only. Now you can go to the graph, it shows how many test cases got passed, failed, and then there is a severity that it is giving. I'll showcase you that. By default it takes everything as normal, but we can even segregate the test cases based on blocker, critical, minor, so that if let's say I'm keeping 5 test cases under critical, and now if those test cases got failed, you can come back here and see. Now see, this report doesn't just give you the failures or the exceptions, it also helps you to where exactly focus yourself and save lot of time actually. That is where actually I liked this report, having very simple but then it impacts a lot. And then there is a behavioral specific, it is coming. We'll see how we can, these are nothing, I mean in an overall I would say that this timeline, behaviors, packages, these are nothing but it categorizes your test cases actually. But mostly I use like this particular report, and then I like this graph actually here, like how many test cases critical got passed, how many normal test cases got passed, something I've kept it in minor, those things got failed, I really don't want to worry about that. So this is where actually I liked. And then at the end for sure, like if you click on that, it gives you the failure count here. Okay, so that's where actually these things will be helping you. Fine, I think that's pretty much it about this reporting, but then we don't want to stop ourselves here actually to just generate this report. I want to automate it, like if I make it as Control C, I'll come back here, Control C, and then you see your report, if I, and then it gone because that server is stopped. And now like whatever I have executed here, right, this Allure generate, Allure result open, I want to make it as automatic actually, automatic way. There are two ways actually. One, I can write into the package.json actually here is my script. The second thing is that the webdriverIO gives another option where I can keep it as my hooks actually. Like if you ever scroll down to this WDIO, we will use the hooks concept, and then we can automatically generate this particular report, so that you don't need to really add this command every time after your test case is done actually. That is what we are going to see. And then we can see how to attach a report when the test case got failed, and then those categories which I have shown, right, how you can add a couple of more information into your reporting actually, so that you can see that in future. Okay, so I think that's pretty much it about this as the foundation of how to integrate the Allure report. But stay tuned, we will see the other part of this particular Allure report where we will see more internals about that reporting. Okay, so hope this session is helpful. Stay tuned and do subscribe to this YouTube channel. Thank you for watching.